Our next guest also has experience in the clothing industry. He is the founder and original president of the North Face.
I'm a big fan of North Face.
Me
My
too.
closet is full
Mine
of it.
too. Mine
He
too.
has also written several books, and he has a new endeavor as a board member for REVIV, a wellness service that uses your genetics for a personalized experience. Let's welcome Hap Klopp. How you doing?
Great. Thank you for having me.
So great to have you here, Hap. Let's start by talking about North Face starting in 1968 in San Francisco and a barn in Stanford where you went to school.
Yes, well, that was a long time ago. But I couldn't work for anybody else coming out of Stanford Business School, so I had idiosyncratic ideas. I loved entrepreneurship. I loved innovation. I loved the idea of disrupting, and I didn't believe in a lot of the heresy that existed at that time. Women were paid half of what men were paid. There was discrimination against gays. Language was an issue, so we ended up speaking 14 languages in our offices all the time. We ended up hiring women at the same salary as men, and we disrupted product. And we disrupted by using materials from the Vietnam War. We made camping products much lighter than anything existed. Our business model was omni-channel from day one, which was a heresy at that time. We had a lifetime warranty on our product because I didn't believe in planned obsolescence. So what you see now is a jacket and is primarily there, but we started out making sleeping bags and tents, and then we moved into ski gear, and then we moved into other product to be able to expand. I'm no longer involved with it, although I go back and give them some ideas.
Some pointers. Well, it's your baby.
About the DNA.
So you keep on saying you push back against the norms of the time. Do you feel like there's still a lot of norms we need to push back against? And is there an entrepreneurial opportunity for those who don't follow existing models?
I think there's always an opportunity. You know, I was listening to the last question that you were asking to the lady before me, and fail forward, fail fast. That's the Silicon Valley way. And the idea, I think it was Edison who said, I've never failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that something doesn't work. And that's really the attitude you have to have. And you have an exponential rate of change of society. It's moving faster and faster. And as a result of that, you don't have time for perfect information. So what you have to do is jump off and make some of those things. Large companies will never do that, because they have the incumbency issue that there's too much to lose.
We were just talking about that.
Absolutely. You said that people buy what they need, not what you sell. And I think that's really relevant to your new company, or the company that you're aboard on.
Absolutely.
REVIV. Talk a little bit about REVIV for us and what that is.
Well, I always look at both success and failure as just part of a continuum. I've written 2 books on it, one called Almost About Failure, the other one, Conquering the North Face, about success. But what I try to do, I'm sitting on the board, and I'm trying to encourage them to be bold, because they're really going into disrupting healthcare. One of the mega trends of the future is health and wellness. We thought we were in that at North Face, but it was just basically getting people into the wilderness. But now, right now, healthcare in the United States is over 17% of our GDP, and it's expected to grow to 20%. That's because most health and wellness is done retroactively. You go into a doctor when you have a problem, and you're late.
Preventative care is so much cheaper than urgent care.
Exactly, and that's what REVIV is about. REVIV is about, basically, we have 70 clinics worldwide. We'll be expanding those clinics worldwide, but in addition to that, you have drip therapy where you can provide nutrients of all sorts, coupling that with genome testing. And genome is the future. And if you know what your genome is, you can basically decide which foods you should eat. You can decide how they affect your body. The Mediterranean diet doesn't work for everybody. The keto diet doesn't work for everybody. Why? Because our DNA is all different. So knowing that, you can prescriptively figure out what you need. And you can come in, you can develop a bespoke IV therapy if you want. We give a book out where it tells you all the foods in the world and what you can do to eat. But people will go forward by knowing what they should be doing. They may not act properly because we don't always act in self-interest, but the idea of REVIV is to disrupt this major mega trend that exists out there. And there's 3 drivers of that: digitization, democratization, globalization, and we're capitalizing on all of those. You couldn't do the genome without digitization. In 2001, it was $1 million to do a genetic study. Today, it's $942 to do it. Within a few years, it'll be down to $100. It will be as common as a vaccination to have your own DNA study.
So I'm sold on what you're saying. My concern is about privacy. So let's say you know my genome and you know my health weaknesses, right? I would be worried about United Healthcare or Blue Cross Blue Shield getting a hold of that because they might charge me more than they charge Trish because she doesn't have the same
Based
problem.
on our testing.
Well, it's a good issue, but in 2008, there was a law passed about what information on your DNA can be distributed to insurers or to other healthcare people or for if you have an application for a job. Now, that doesn't mean it won't be abused because we know laws are not always done. So it's a big issue to do. Of course, what we're doing is controlling it. And in addition to that, we have a project that basically says you can determine where that information goes. And if you determine where that information goes, you can limit where it's going to be. So you decide.
How has entrepreneurship changed since you started the North Face?
Yeah, what's different now?
Well, we can spell it better now. We didn't even know what it was at
That's
the
from
time.
autocorrect.
Right, yeah, absolutely. But entrepreneurship was basically taking a long time to develop an idea and iterate it. You develop a minimum viable product and then you roll it out.
Did we even have that word, minimum viable product, back in the day?
No,
All this terminology is all new. Right?
That's, the terminology is new, but the other thing is every company is born global now. And as a result, you don't have time to sequentially roll out ideas geographically or even to different sinecures. So when we started the North Face, we started in the U.S., and then we went to Japan and Europe, and then we went to the rest of the world.
That doesn't exist
You don't
anymore.
do that. No, you open up day one. The moment you have a product out there, your competitors see you online, and they deal with it. REVIV is like that. We're revolutionizing the healthcare industry, but everybody else seeing what we're doing and the visibility. We had a billboard in Times Square 2 weeks ago. That sort of announces to the world we're here. And then it's a question how fast you can run.
So, Hap, we're running out of time, but I have one question for you. So, North Face, right, and healthcare,
Right.
very different, right? But what are the commonalities that they have in terms of entrepreneurship, getting a company off the ground, getting visibility, coming to market, et cetera, et cetera?
All businesses follow the same pattern. One of the things that I can add is a knowledge of how they play out. There's a product adoption cycle that you have. It's a bell-shaped curve and deals with that. You have fundraising issues associated with that sort of growth that you can deal. How do you convince people to invest in your enterprise when they've never seen anything like it? That's a challenge that happens out there.
Yeah.
And the commonality, one, we were dealing with health and wellness. We were thinking more about spiritual wellness of taking people to the wilderness. At North Face, now we're talking about physical wellness. But we're all talking about the launch stage, the growth stage, the scaling stage that you're there. Scaling is a big issue. I've done it with many companies. I consult with companies. I teach innovation and disruption. I write books about it. But it is something.
It's hard to get to that next step, isn't it?
It is very hard. And so many companies start off with a good idea and great people, and then they run into a wall. And hopefully the expertise that I have insinuated into this company makes that transition easier.
Well, Hap, I'm a big fan of your products from North Face, and we wish you all the best in REVIV. Thank you so much.
Thank you for
Hap.
having me in.